That Barack Obama and Jennifer Aniston had an affair that ended his marriage? People that I respect, some that I even love, who may or may not watch this show.
When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them. Not been funded. They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves.
You're about to hear the story everyone swears they already know, and still can't stop debating, because every time we think the credits rolled on this fairy tale, the internet finds a new mid-credits scene and the plot flips again. Welcome back to the chaos where Hollywood tea meets Beltway gloss, where late-night jokes start to sound like confessionals and perfectly lit couple shots feel like movie posters for a franchise that refuses to end.
A minute on the Obamas, because there seems to be some momentum picking up in the rumor mill about their marriage. All right, I'm going to bring you what I know.
The truth about Jen and Barack is that there is no truth.
There is no
untrue.
truth.
You know Barack Obama.
I've met him once.
Met him once.
I know Michelle more than him.
What is there a truth about you and Michelle that we should know?
That is not true.
He is not sorry.
They are looking forward. All the women in your life are
all the women in my life are looking forward to being able to, live a more normal life.
Yeah, but still not entirely normal. Obviously, everybody's under the microscope at all times. A little bit more. And you're staying in Washington, D.C., which is unusual for an exiting president.
Quick favor before we dive headfirst into the whispers your group chat won't drop. Smash like so this video finds its people. Tap subscribe for daily deep dives, and drop a comment. With your hot take, are we witnessing a forever love or the most elegant brand ever built? Or is the real answer hiding in the edit? The reason this saga grabs us is simple. After the motorcades and the state dinners, the couple didn't fade to black. They pivoted to something even more potent than the bully pulpit authorship. You don't need a vote when you can greenlight a story. You don't need a soundbite when you can produce a season arc. And so the post-presidency looked less like retirement and more like a writer's room with better lighting. Documentaries that land like empathy bombs, podcasts that feel like living rooms with microphones, cameos that remind you the face on the cover still sets the table.
Not to add insult to injury, but there's a Daily Mail report out today saying Kamala Harris's marriage may be on the rocks. Like everybody's on the rocks. Again, I will say I love the Daily Mail, but the sourcing appeared weak. It was like people who know the couple, but I don't know if it's any better than that. But they're saying she's blaming him in part for her loss because he turned out to be such a hot mess liability. You buy it? Oh, but if it is true, it truly would be a political earthquake in Democrat circles. Never mind America. I don't remember a presidential divorce in modern history.
So the Bidens and the Obamas hate each other because Michelle Obama is very good friends with Hunter Biden's ex-wife. So that's led to a significant problem where they don't like Hunter, and if you don't like Hunter, Joe doesn't like you. So I would not be surprised if Holmes is right on with this of like, oh, well, why don't we do this?
It's like, oh man, you give us problems, maybe you can have a problem or two.
And that's where the tension lives. The same polish that once steadied a nation now makes skeptics wonder if the perfection is the point. Is the glow proof of grace under pressure? Or is the glow the product? The internet loves a neat theory, but what keeps this alive isn't Answer Sit's appetite, that restless itch to know if the carefully composed image is a diary entry or a storyboard. And once you're thinking in storyboards, every rumor turns into a frame, every denial a cut, and every sudden silence a cliffhanger. Because that's how modern myth works. We binge it, then we dissect it, then we demand the next episode, even if no one promised one. The rom-com turned rumor mill vibe is its own genre at this point. A whispered tip about separate schedules collides with a perfectly timed throwback photo, a solo appearance spawns a dozen "where's the +1" threads, and a gala sighting with a tight smile becomes a 5-minute TikTok thesis on micro-expressions. None of that is proof, but gossip doesn't deal in proof. It deals in patterns.
So this is a magazine that came out a couple of weeks ago and said the truth about Jen and Barack.
That was of all the calls you get from your
Great in the school she currently attends, and our attitude is that if you have a teenager and you really want to make sure that they never talk to you again, then pull them out of high school right in the middle.
Yeah, you're right.
Of sophomore yeyear. So, look, they've made so many sacrifices.
They have, and they didn't get to decide that.
Exactly. So I want to make sure that they get.
Going high is not losing the urgency or the passion or the rage, especially when you are justified in it. Going high means finding the purpose in your rage. You know, rage without reason, without a plan, without direction is just more rage.
And patterns are easy to map when the lighting's this good. You've seen the cycle. Mondays, they're on different coasts this week, grows into Wednesday's armchair. Detective montage, stitching airport clips, speech dates, and background decor like CSI for vibes. And by Friday, a trending tag tries to crown a narrative as if hashtags have subpoena power. Then, just when the echo feels deafening, Sunday drops a montage of private laughs and practiced ease, a little hand squeeze, a look that radiates, "We're fine," and half the audience melts, while the other half says, "PR move," and scrolls for the counter angle. This is the economy of almost proof, almost panic, almost reconciliation, and almost is what keeps us refreshing. It's the perfect storm of parasocial closeness and curated distance. We feel invited, but only to the foyer, and in the foyer, everything gleams. And of course, there's the spark that keeps reigniting Discussion the Comedy, set that poked the aura like a balloon, a sharp tongue, a tight set, and lines pitched dry enough to cut through the applause, teasing the idea that the halo we admired might have been lit from behind. Was it just a joke, or was it a thesis with punchlines? Depends who you ask. Satire thrives on ambiguity, and the internet thrives on taking ambiguity personally. The clip circulates, the captions add spice, and the comments split between "say it louder" and "it's just comedy, relax." But the net effect is the same. An old question feels new again, like a pop hook remixed for the timeline. You can practically hear the gears turning if a comedian says the quiet part out loud. Is it suddenly truer or just shareable? And in that tension, the rumors breathe, because comedy gives plausible deniability to the pretty much unsayable. And once it's said, you can't unhear it. You can only debate how seriously you want to take the smirk. Every epic gets a ghost story, and this one's is a sidewalk quip that refuses to die, a legend tossed off a line with the kind of mischievous certainty only a battle-hardened comic could carry, the kind of line that people file away not because they believe it, but because they can't stop replaying how easily it was said. Then the timeline turned tragic routine procedure, cascading errors, a malpractice nightmare that ended a career built on gutsy punchlines. The official post-mortems read like a checklist of what should have happened and didn't, and for many, tragedy explains itself, but we live in a world where coincidence is treated like a dare. And so the conspiracy crowd stitched together a whole alternate cut, the "say the wrong thing, pay the price" edit. For them, the documentation becomes the twist, not the answer-missing monitoring, unauthorized moments, the kind of clinical lapses that spark Facebook threads longer than medical textbooks. On one side, grief, legal accountability, and heartbreaking human error. On the other, grainy arrows pointing at too convenient. What's undeniable is how the clip and the tragedy fused in the collective imagination. Now the line lives bigger than the person who said it, the joke lives bigger than the context it came from, and the echo refuses to fade because it's part scandal, part superstition, and entirely cinematic. The internet, being the internet, keeps the candle lit. No long-running saga is complete without the return of an unreliable narrator, the franchise villain who shows up whenever ratings dip. You know the type. A lurid tale with just enough specificity to be sticky and just enough holes to be safely dismissed. There's always a bar, always a car, always a blur, and always that wink of "no one wanted you to know." Mainstream outlets swat it away. Fact checks line up like dominoes, and still the interview reappears because what if is a drug none of us can quite quit. The brand-safe reaction is to laugh it off, but the algorithm doesn't care who's laughing. It only cares who's sharing. And if something is both shocking and deniable, if it can be screamed by a headline and shrugged at by a lawyer, it travels. That's the modern media paradox. The least trustworthy story can command the most attention as long as the audience believes someone somewhere tried to hide it. And so we replay the infamous claims, not because they convinced us, but because they offer the thrill of touching a live wire without ever turning on the lights. It's theater with plausible deniability, a ghost train you can ride from your couch, The truth doesn't stand a chance in that format because the truth is quieter than the what if, and quiet doesn't trend. Meanwhile, the couple keeps it moving, never dignifying the noise, which is either discipline or strategy or both. Then there's the West Coast crossover, the celebrity adjacency rumor machine that spins even when everyone's on vacation. Two spotless names appear in the same sentence, and the internet does the rest. It's never about proof, it's about proximity, and proximity sells. PR teams respond with the standard met once, lovely human energy, and rational people nod and move on. But the rumor economy isn't built for rationale, it's built for sticky. The pairing lingers precisely because both names are Teflon. It's like mixing two fan-favorite fragrances and telling people to imagine the scent. You don't need evidence when you have imagination. Newspapers may die, but the imagination economy only scales. And in that imagination space, every overlapping circle becomes a secret Venn diagram. The charity gala both attended 3 years apart, the tasteful mutuals, the industry friends label that's elastic enough to cover an airport lounge and a premiere afterparty. What matters isn't romance, but resonance. Two brands calibrated to feel like home, two archetypes that soothe different corners of the same audience, which makes them easy to ship even if the ship never leaves harbor. You can practically hear the fanfic music swell, and while the actual humans involved issue polite denials, the headlines incubate anyway, because click-throughs don't require accuracy, only curiosity, and curiosity is a renewable resource with an unlimited budget. Now zoom into the rooms where culture is actually coded, writers' rooms and edit bays where adjectives get litigated and arcs get sharpened like knives. That's where the post-presidential pivot becomes a masterclass. Trade whip counts for test screenings, policy memos for pitch decks, and watch how a belief can be taught through a character's heartbreak instead of a speech. Call it stewardship or strategy, mentorship or manipulation. Either way, it's sticky because stories change us while we're busy feeling. The couple's great innovation wasn't just stepping into Hollywood, it was stepping into it with a mission statement, themes about dignity, resilience, second chances, the kind of ideas that look uncontroversial until they gather momentum and start to reframe the center. And when the projects land, the discourse shifts. The hot take war cools long enough for a quiet cry. The algorithm sees tears and says, more like this. And suddenly, a nation is processing values in the safest place it knows, the living room. That is how soft power works. You never feel the push, you only feel the hug, and by the time you realize you've moved, you're already somewhere else. If that's terrifying to you, you call it engineering. If that's inspiring, you call it leadership. Either way, you can't pretend it isn't working. Watch the awards chatter. Watch the school curricula debates. Watch the way certain phrases migrate from a documentary to your family group chat. None of it proves a conspiracy. All of it proves the influence is real. Of course, even the glossiest brand needs maintenance, and that's when the reset cycle kicks in. A charming joint interview here, a memoir excerpt there, an onstage riff that feels like you're eavesdropping in their kitchen at 11 p. Mare. Those moments aren't just sweet, they're strategic, because they remind doubters that this thing is lived in, not just lit well. There's always a line that lands like a wink, a nudge that says, we're imperfect but aligned. A story about stubbornness or snoring, or whose playlists win on road trips, and the crowd laughs because we love our paragons with a little dust on them. That's how you reset the room without clapping your hands. You let the texture do the work, and in the same breath, the fandom splits again. Half the comments swoon, goals. Half pull out the Zapruder lens to analyze posture and eye lines and who reached for whose elbow first walking off stage. It's wild and a little unhinged and completely predictable, because intimacy is a currency now, and everyone wants receipts. But here's the twist. The jokes, the softness, the candid beats, they don't just inoculate against rumors, they remind you of why the brand worked in the first place. Grace under pressure, the tender shorthand of years together, an ability to talk about heavy things without losing the warmth. You can call it PR if you want, but PR only works if there's something real to photograph. And every time a moment lands that naturally, you can feel the oxygen return to the room. The chatter never dies, but it lowers its voice. The saga keeps velocity because it sits at the crossroad of the two myths we need most, that love can hold a world together, and that story can fix a broken one. When a couple seems to embody both, we project like Crazivery selfie becomes an omen, every caption a poem, every absence a trial, which is why those blink and you'll miss it glances get slowed down, why a hand squeeze becomes an affidavit, why a laugh at the wrong beat is suddenly a red flag. We aren't just observers anymore. We act like jurors in a case we invented, because our own hopes are on the stand. Some watch the banter and feel seen, others feel sold to. And in the gap between those feelings, 1,000 creators build careers. None of this is new, but the scale is. The algorithm turns ambiguity into electricity, and electricity powers the discourse, and the discourse powers the ad rates, and that pays for more ambiguity. It's a loop with no off switch. So we keep circling the same 3 questions. Are the rumors smoke from a real fire? Are they stage fog from a well-run machine? Or is it both two truths spliced together because 2025 refuses to choose a single genre? Hover over the thriller angle the timeline can't let go of. The idea that pieces are being moved on a chessboard behind the curtain, that strategic leaks and coy captions are timed like a rollout, that an inner circle is workshopping how to break news so it lands like a poem instead of a punch. Maybe that's real. Maybe it's projection from people who binge prestige TV and now assume life has a showrunner. Either way, it's captivating because it makes the mess feel choreographed. It explains why rumors cluster, why they cool right before a big public moment, why a viral clip suddenly gets eclipsed by a wholesome anecdote, why a denial arrives with a laugh track instead of a press release, and if you've ever handled your own life with a little theater waited to post the good news until the lighting was right, you understand the instinct. The difference is scale. When millions are watching, timing becomes weather. A single cloud can change everyone's plans, and yet in that weather pattern, the couple's signature move keeps showing up. Redirect the attention to the work, nudge the conversation back to purpose. Make the story bigger than the rumor so the rumor looks small next to it. That's not accident, that's craft. And craft, when done well, feels like grace. Which is why the real third act probably won't be a press conference. It'll be a premiere. When you hold authorship, you don't argue with a rumor, you outshine it. You drop a film that reframes the question. You release a conversation that recenters dignity. You greenlight a series that makes the loudest speculation feel small next to the bigness of shared purpose. That's how you win the present tense be programming the future. And if that sounds lofty, remember how many times a show changed your mind about someone you'd never met? Remember how often a beautifully told story cracked something open in you that no debate could touch? That's the venue where this couple has decided to live now, not just the balcony of history, but the producer's chair. So the next plot twist won't be a document, it'll be a drop. And the drop will land right when the internet thinks it has the beat, and the whole rhythm will change, and the discourse will scramble to keep up. Until then, the rumor mill will do what it do, spin, because that's its job. Our job is to notice how invested we are in an ending we don't own. Me, I'll be here with you watching the trailers for clues, listening for the line that breaks the spell, archiving the moments that feel too perfect to be accidental and too human to be fake. If you want part 2, hit like so, this gets back to you, subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter, and tell me in the comments, is this the most compelling love story of our era, the smartest brand in modern media, or the rare magic trick that manages to be both at once? Because whichever answer wins the night, the curtain hasn't dropped, and the next scene is already in production.